Thanksgiving is a time of fun and family, but accidents can happen, especially when cooking in front of a hot oven. TV 20 health reporter Richard Stewart brings us tips for safe cooking, courtesy of the Cleveland Fire Department.
Today we're broadcasting from the Western Reserve Fire Museum and Education Center. We're going to talk fire safety during the holidays, and we're joined by Lieutenant Michael Norman. He's a lieutenant at the Cleveland Fire Department. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So you told me earlier that this season is the biggest when it comes to kitchen fires. Why?
It can be. Well, this is a lot of times everybody's cooking for Christmas and Thanksgiving, right? They're holidays for everyone, but they're busy days for firefighters often. And a lot of times that's because of cooking fires.
So what are the most important things our viewers should know when it comes to getting ready to set your kitchen up to cook and actually executing a meal?
All right, well, the first thing you want to be mindful of is the chef, right? You want to make sure that you're in a good position to cook. You want to make sure that you're not tired, that you're not under the influence of anything. You don't want to be drinking and cooking, or maybe not drinking before you're cooking, but just be careful out there. You want to make sure that you're wearing clothing that wouldn't present a fire hazard, no baggy sleeves, no loose fitting clothing. You want to make sure that you're ready to cook.
And what about the cooking appliances in the kitchen? We have a sample toaster here. Tell us how to stay safe when you're using that.
So the second thing we're going to talk about is make sure that the kitchen's ready. So we have a couple of heat producing appliances, coffee maker, crock pot. Those want to be plugged directly into the wall socket, right? Otherwise they're a fire hazard. You never want to plug those into an extension cord. Here we have a toaster. We have this curtain is a little too close to the toaster, and the toaster's caught fire, thanks to our props here at the Fire Museum. So what we're going to do for that is unplug it, remove the heat source for it, and that'll help to put that fire out.
And I see we have a frying pan on the stove. Talk about that.
All right, so when you come to the stove, everybody's going to be using their stove. The rules of thumb that we use are, if you're using the stove, if you've got something in the oven, stay at home. If you've got something on the cooktop, stay in the kitchen. Or if you're using the burners, stay in the kitchen. Now, in the event that this handle is positioned correctly, you never want to have a handle sticking out. That's a burn hazard. We're going to make sure our handles are in. And if the event that we do have a fire on top of the stove, we want to make sure we have a metal pan or even a cookie sheet handy that we can slide that over and smother that fire. Once it's covered, then you turn the power off, turn the heat off behind it. If there's a fire inside the stove, that's actually a safe place for a fire. We want to make sure that we just keep that door shut. We're not going to pull that out of there. And again, cut the heat to it so that we're taking away the heat source for it.
I've got a Butterball deep fryer at home that I deep fry my turkeys in.
That's delicious. When do we go? What time's dinner?
I'll bring you a plate. But people always say, keep the deep turkey fryer outside of the house, not on the countertop. But it's designed to work on the countertop. At least some of them are.
Yeah, those have evolved quite a bit. Years ago, we would just help advise people to just not fry turkeys. But now, like you said, there are countertop models. The keys with those, you want to make sure that you have a thawed turkey. You never want to put a frozen turkey into a turkey fryer. And make sure that turkey is dry, because the water will react with the oil, and that's a burn hazard. If you have one of those bigger gas-powered turkey fryers, you want to make sure that you use that away from the structure. We don't want to be on a deck. We never want to be inside of a garage on a flat surface with no kids or no pets around, because it's not just a fire hazard, it's a burn hazard. The key with those, make sure that the oil is at the proper level, and when you're putting that turkey inside, cut the power off, cut the heat off underneath while the turkey's going in, and then reignite that flame. In case you get oil that splatters, that can be a cause of a fire. So they're dangerous, but they're delicious. So you want to make sure that you're balancing it as you're frying your turkey this year.
I noticed you had a couple of fire extinguishers for demonstration purposes. Where should people store those, and how close should they be to when you're operating in your kitchen?
That's a great question. We want to have our fire extinguishers and the means of egress, which is the way out of the kitchen. You never want to have to go past the fire. Like if that extinguisher are under the kitchen sink, that's a dangerous place. You have to go too close to the fire to get it. So if you go for that fire extinguisher, we want you to be going in a path that takes you out of the house. If the fire gets on the wall, if it spatters on the wall, the fire gets the house involved, it's beyond what you can do. Call 911, get us started, and get out of the house. If you can close the door to the kitchen on the way out, that'll compartmentalize the fire. That's a good thing to do. But the key is to just get out of the house. Save yourself.
Tell us a little bit about this building that we're standing in. It's my first time here. Fascinating place. Talk about the Western Reserve Fire Museum and Education Center first.
So this is a great resource for Cleveland firefighters. We've got fire paraphernalia from all across this region, not just the city of Cleveland. They're set up for children's exhibits. They've got a lot of instructional areas in here, and then just they keep our history alive here. So they've got apparatus and all sorts of old fire equipment and so forth. That is really fascinating place to spend a little time.
Lieutenant Norman, thank you for joining us and sharing these fire safety tips as we embark upon another holiday season.
Thanks for having us, Richard.
Folks, two things to keep in mind as we embark upon the holiday season is preparation and awareness as you get into the kitchen to prepare your holiday meal. I'm Richard Stewart, health reporter for TV 20. Back to you, Dan.